And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin. This was originally going to be a lowdown. This was going to be a quick episode. Just kind of breaking down the Team USA game that we just watched. But then I put the link into Slack and I asked if Raj wanted to talk about that game, and then realized I had to clarify which game because the Lakers technically also played today. And he specifically wanted to talk about the other game, not the game we just watched, not the one featuring actual professional basketball players. No, he wanted to talk about the other one, the one that also exists.
The one that has three players that are on our actual roster.
Raj, I'm not gonna let this slide. I'm not gonna let this slide. Before we went live, we were talking about our impending trips to Vegas. And this is the first time ever that I am bringing my family to Vegas. The kids are going to be out there. Jen's going to be out there. My parents are actually going to be out there also to help with the kids, just in case Jen and I want to step away. Everybody's going to be staying at my tia's house out there in Vegas and all that stuff. So that's like way out of my comfort zone in and of itself. But then, Raj, you dropped an absolute nuclear bomb.
Right.
In which you said this is going to be the first time you're going to be out there in Vegas on your own.
Right.
Like what, first off, like, why has it taken you this long?
No, I mean, like, so usually I'll go like with my friends, or I'll, take my mom with me because she's, just like, yeah, I'll just go and stay in the room. And I'm like, Mom, I'm going to be watching basketball all day. She's like, I'll be good. Like, I'm in the room, but still, like, you don't want to leave your parent in the room there. So I usually come back for dinner. And by that time, you just don't want to go out again. So this is one of the first times I'm going just by myself, which is, I have four nights in Vegas, Thursday night to Monday morning. So 4 nights or 3 nights, can't count. But yeah, I'm excited about that. I get to watch a ton of basketball. I can rewatch my games in the morning and then, go out, at night and, stay out past 12 or something like that this time. So I'm very excited to have like just no rules and, just no one to like be, I guess, responsible for. But no, I'm excited. Vegas is the Mecca. It's one of my favorite places. I plan my year around this. Like I plan my schedule around Summer League. Like my whole year gets planned around this, which I'm a little upset. We only have one Friday game, Anthony. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but we only play once through this weekend, which, like, NBA, what are you doing? Like, you want to you put Bronny on the front page of Summer League and you give the Lakers one game between Friday and Monday.
And it's an early Friday game. Like, most people aren't going to be in Vegas by the time that game takes place. I will not be in Vegas by the time that game takes place.
I found out most people aren't like me. I'm like, oh, I'm flying in Thursday night to make sure I get to that game. But most people aren't. Did not feel the same way as I did.
No, not quite, not quite. Well, because normally the Lakers are one of the later games. If they aren't the latest one, normally the first game, the first like primetime game of Vegas is always the first and second picks teams playing against each other in Thomas and Mack. That's normally what kind of kicks everything off. Right. Or it's a Laker game, like historically speaking, it's typically a Laker game, especially if the Lakers have like a major story involved, and the Lakers do this time. I truly have no idea what the league is doing here, where the Lakers don't have a primetime Friday night game. They don't have a primetime Saturday night game. They do have a primetime Sunday night game, but by the time that will be taking place, nobody's going to be there.
No, they don't. They don't have a Sunday game. They play Friday night and then they play Monday. They do not have a Sunday game.
Oh, so I'm not going to see any Lakers games then, because I'm leaving. I was thinking, because I apparently had the schedule wrong. I thought maybe they were playing on Sunday and I was going to maybe stick around and leave on Monday. But no, if they're playing again on Monday, then no, I'm not going to see any Lakers games, which makes it funnier because like there was legitimate anticipation from people that I've spoken to around the league about the first time that Rob and I were going to be in the same room at the same time. Like that was something that was something that people were actually like looking forward to, and I don't think it's going to take place. That's too bad. So anyway, we'll come back. Let's come back to the Vegas trip here in a little bit. I want to talk about the game that everybody who is watching this show right now just tuned into. That being Team USA beating the brakes off of Team Canada. Team Canada, I thought, obviously started the game off really well. I thought, we're treating this like an actual Olympic game. Steve Kerr was not, based off of that starting lineup that he threw out there. Joel Embiid very much not treating this like an actual game. He looked terrible. Anthony Davis played really, really well. LeBron also played really well. We'll talk about Steph and LeBron tampering their asses off and what that's going to be like over the course of these Olympics. But Canada is supposed to be one of the teams that like gives Team USA issues. And once Anthony Edwards came in, and once Anthony Davis came in, and once like Jason Tatum came in, and Team USA actually started like stop turning the ball over and got their shit together, they absolutely overwhelmed Team Canada.
Yeah.
I had some concerns coming into this tournament about, I thought I was a little nervous about how the team was put together. I had some questions about like fit, talent versus fit, those classic kind of storylines or whatever. But after this feels like one of those like dream team potential dream team type runs that like this is Canada was supposed to be one of those teams that gives Team USA problems, and they didn't give them any problems once Joel Embiid stopped playing as much.
I think what we usually do to figure out who will give Team USA problems, Anthony, right, is what we look at how many NBA players they have. And it's like, and Team Canada has a ton. I think 10 of their players are actual like players in the NBA. But I mean, they're not stars, right? Like the one star on their team is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Everyone else is a role player. And then you look at Team USA, it's like, Anthony
Jamal Murray's
Davis.
On that team. I don't know if he's like I don't know if Jamal Murray's a role player.
It's funny, the Jamal Murray threes just don't hurt the same when it's not a Denver Nuggets jersey. I was like, Jamal Murray hit a pull-up three. It's not as painful.
No,
it didn't hurt.
It's not the Denver Nuggets jersey. It's that he doesn't have Nikola Jokic there.
He doesn't have Jokic. You're right. Yes. Well, those are synonymous. Like it's usually in a Nuggets jersey when he's playing next to Jokic. But you look at USA and they go to their bench, and people quibble about the starting lineup. I think eventually AD and Bam maybe will eventually start. But you look at the bench coming, Anthony Edwards comes in, AD comes in, Bam Adebayo comes in, and you look at Canada, it's like, Dwight Powell, very nice, like sets, sets good screens
Dwight
and all
Powell
that.
Dwight Powell was giving Joel Embiid the business at the beginning of the game. Like can I just say this? I wasn't thrilled about Embiid being on Team USA from the get. Like, I understand there's plenty of like explanation for like why this actually makes sense, culturally speaking, and his decision and all that stuff. I just didn't think Team USA needed him. Like, and then like now after watching that game, I'm like, I actively don't want to watch him. My thing with Joel Embiid is he is my absolute least favorite great player of all time. Like I will. No, I take that back. James Harden exists, but then it's Joel Embiid. Like the guy, he's way too big to flop as much as he does. He's way too skilled to flop as much as he does. And FIBA referees aren't going to give him that stuff. He tried doing it. I think like his very first possession at the beginning of the game, he tried one of those rip through things. And the FIBA referee, I think, like I'd have to go back and find the video again, but I think he actually outwardly laughed at Joel Embiid. It was crazy. I've never seen anything like it. And then like I think all of Team Canada like mooned Joel Embiid for doing it. Like it was crazy. I can't believe that FS1 didn't play an instant replay of all of that. But I just like. Obviously, Team USA doesn't need talent. Like they aren't at the desperate need for talent that like you should have. For a while there, I think Embiid was playing for Spain, if I remember correctly. I where think so. Because of his visa status and stuff like that, and the amount of time that he spent in various countries. I believe he was playing for Team Spain, and I just like when word came out that he was going to play for Team USA, I was like, oh man, like I want to, like, because to be completely honest, I want to see that other team get a little bit better. I would like to see Embiid play against Jokic on a more kind of even footing if those two teams were to play against each other. And again, like, Team USA doesn't need him. Like, I thought far and away they looked way better when AD came in there. And I looked at, like, it became actually unfair when it was AD and Bam out there at the same time.
Right.
So it was like, I was watching that. I was like, can we just swap out Embiid, send him to Team Spain, and bring in, like, Melo? Can Melo get that last roster spot and just get like Olympic Melo one more time? But what did you think of the Joel Embiid experience? Like, am I overreacting to that?
So my just takeaway number one is I don't think Embiid's in shape. It's it's not a shocker. I just I just don't think he's in shape. He looks like he's sweating out some liquor as well. I'm not accusing him of that.
Like, he's just sweating Vegas. Like,
right. He's just sweating it out. It's funny because the practice footage came out and he was drawing fouls in practice, but I think like that's just the type of player he is, and he's also the guy that wants all the post ups, right? And I forgot who clipped it, but someone clipped like, look at all this motion offense, and the clip is Joel Embiid dribbling like 30 times in the post and like throwing up this nasty fadeaway. But like, forget all that. I know, like, forget your hatred of Embiid. To me, Anthony, this team is fun.
I cannot do that.
I know. Yes, I just put it aside for now.
All right,
I think this team is so fun in transition. Like, that's what makes the Olympics and Team USA what it is seeing these athletes get out, right? Seeing Steph and LeBron, players who don't really get to play in single coverage or they do play in transition, but those two passing to each other, LeBron driving and kicking to Steph in transition. Steph had the lob to LeBron, and that takes away when you get slow-footed Embiid, trying to haul his body up the court into post position and like, give me the ball, and they throw it in the post. And FIBA basketball is not really that way. FIBA is more of a flow sport as well, a lot more motion action. It's more physical as well. And you talked, like, I don't know what you said about the refs, but they are a little bit more, I think, stringent in international play. But yeah, I'm not a fan really of the Embiid play.
Well,
I think he
stringent. Like, they don't call like the twerking for foul stuff.
Yes.
Like they let defenses play defense.
Exactly right. And I think Team USA did recruit Joel Embiid, and like, it was a thought that last year the team lost because of their size, and they're going against teams like France that have Wemby and Gobert, and let's pack up on centers. But yeah, like, Bam and AD fill that role like perfectly, and they are like international players, right? Like, they super fluid athletes, guys who can catch on the move, screen roll, all that stuff. And Embiid's like, I want to jab step fade away. It's like, man, we got like the best athletes in town out here. We don't need that out here. But again, like, Embiid's first exhibition game fouled out. I think he'll have better performances going forward. But I wasn't a fan of the experience either.
Do you think Darvin and Chris Gent were sitting there like watching that game, texting each other? It's like, man, that's what 5 out should have looked like with AD.
We got it wrong. Damn it.
Do you think Darvin sent a text to Rob and was like, see, you see what AD could look like in 5 out? Just imagine if this team had Taurean Prince. Do you think if Darvin was somehow an assistant coach on this team, like, instead of Derek White or instead of Jaylen Brown, when Kawhi dropped out, he'd be like, I know who we need. I got it. I got it figured out, everybody.
Taurean Prince, come down.
The live audience helping me out here. I know that Cameroon was like the team that he probably should have been playing for here, but I could have sworn there was like,
he never played for them.
Yeah. I could have sworn like he was at one point going to like suit up for Spain, either Spain or France, one of the two. But
right.
but either way, like I just didn't think that like this team needed Joel Embiid. And then like to your point, Raj, when we see it out there in practice and the rest of that unit is built to run and to move the ball and to not flop around for fouls out there, like Embiid just doesn't fit. And then it was funny because immediately once Anthony Davis got subbed in there and he's playing with the remainder of those starters, it's like, oh, yeah,
right.
This is what that's supposed to look like.
Yeah, can we stay on that? AD next to just even Anthony's serviceable perimeter defense is a top level defense. I'm watching Anthony Davis protect the rim and have Bam as like the other help guy. Anthony Edwards hounding his guy, Tatum hounding his dude, and like LeBron catching boards and pushing. Like, man, this is incredible. AD's life must be so. There was a clip as well that I posted where like and Steve Kerr even mentioned, that was the first thing he mentioned in the walk-off interview or in the third quarter interview. I don't remember. They asked him, what's going well. He's like, I got AD and Bam playing defense. Like that's what's going well. We're locking them up. No, AD's, it's just awesome to watch him in an environment where he has help, right? Which, the last few seasons, it feels like he just hasn't had help on the Lakers. And you see when, AD has a 4 next to him that can protect the rim and just serviceable level of perimeter defense. He's able to lock the paint down. And he was dominant tonight. I think he'll eventually start, right, Anthony? Like, I think AD eventually moves into that starting lineup as the games matter.
There's politics at play. Like Embiid didn't have to go to Team USA, and I don't know. I bet there's some. Okay. Also, it's Steve Kerr. Like he's not a very good coach, so like you have that to deal with too. Okay. Like Barack Obama was at that game today. I was just begging him, like, just walk over to the bench, just lift Spo out of his seat. Slide him over there onto the sideline. Tell Steve, hey, man, we appreciate you. Go take a seat over there. Because, like, Spo is such a better, like, objectively speaking, he is just such a better head coach than Steve Kerr. Like, it's not even a debate. Like, he has had less to work with and has accomplished almost as much. But back to the AD thing, Rob Pelinka, JJ Redick, they were there. Yes. To take in the game. I'm also told that other members of the Lakers staff were also there. Scott Brooks and Nate McMillan were also there. I'm also told that Bob Byer was also there. Somebody I've reported is going to be another addition to the Lakers coaching staff. He was an assistant on the Stan Van Gundy staff when JJ was in Orlando, and then also was an assistant in New Orleans when JJ played for New Orleans. And he's somebody that I think JJ picked out specifically for the staff. So I think eventually he's going to be added to this group too. Imagine imagine getting the opportunity to sit next to Rob while this is all going on and like just seeing what AD looks like with any help on defense whatsoever. like, could you just imagine like Rob is just sitting there and he just keeps sinking lower and lower and lower into his seat. And like JJ's like, hey Rob, have you considered getting JJ help? And he's like, well, Rui look like should be able to help on defense. Maybe, right? Like Austin's like kind of underrated as a defender, I swear. Like it was just it's insane to your point about like how much better AD looks like when he isn't the entire defensive scheme. Right. I was texting back and forth with Lakers Twitter's favorite, Matt Moore, because I sent out a tweet saying how like it's fun to watch him have to choose between being anti-American and rooting for Anthony Davis. And like he was talking about how like, AD doesn't make enough of a difference statistically speaking to be considered an elite defender. And I'm like, have you seen the rest of that starting group? It's Austin Reeves, who like at least tries defensively, but at best he's probably like league average, maybe slightly below league average. D'Angelo Russell, who is actively detrimental to your defense. Rui Hachimura oscillates anywhere between pretty good if he's scoring to absolutely terrible if he isn't. And then a 40-year-old designated hitter in LeBron James, defensively. And
Right.
that's the unit that AD is asked to basically just like keep afloat as like one of the better units or more used units that he is out there consistently with. And like you see him out there when he's surrounded by not terrible defenders. And it's like, hey, could we try that? Could the Lakers like maybe just give it a go and maybe give him like one solid defender? Because the last time you did that, the last time you gave him like at least one solid defender, or just stop me if I'm crazy here, multiple not terrible defenders in Alex Caruso, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. LeBron back then was a much better defender. Kuz was actually a solid defender as well. You know what they did, Raj? They won a fucking championship. So like, imagine sitting there, you're JJ Redick and your vice president of basketball operations and your general manager hasn't done anything to improve the roster this offseason. And you're watching Anthony Davis look the way that he does with decent defenders or good defenders here. What do you think that was like?
You think Rob has like a Van Doe shirt on? He's like, hey, I got, we got
Rob is doing that thing where like he has his phone and it's just like pulling up pictures of Jared Vanderbilt, and making sure it's like tilted in that direction. Like, JJ, look, we have one plus defender. Take a look at him. Unbelievable.
But also, like, to your point here, Anthony, not only does AD have to carry that defensive, burden, he also has to average 27 on the other end, right? So it's not like AD can be this just defensive ace. And I think you're seeing this not just with AD, but with LeBron as well, right? And LeBron's going to leave some shooters open. He had some disrespectful ones for RJ Barrett. Just said, you can go ahead and you can have all those. But I thought LeBron rebounded well. I thought he chased around well. There's a level of physicality and intention to detail he can have because he does not have the offensive load. So that's something the Lakers should look at. But yeah, AD being able to just roam, I think that's what makes AD special, right? Like, he's a good, obviously, one-on-one defender. He's a good switch defender, but his like real specialty as a defender is like as a roamer, as a helper, and his just defensive IQ mixed with the length. And that versatility. And hopefully Lakers can get that. I don't know if the Lakers can go out and, I've seen people, clamoring for a center to play next to AD. I just don't know if one really exists on the, that exists on the market. Again, maybe Rob Pelinka has Christian Wood on his phone too. I don't know if that's what's coming up, but if that's the center that they're envisioning. But yeah, it's probably too late for that. But yeah, some defensive pieces would definitely help. And you could see it on AD too. I think, like, he's talked about it. He enjoys like playing defense even more than offense. And you could just tell the amount of joy he's playing with. And it's cool to see him in this environment. And hopefully the rest of like the NBA world gets to kind of see what Laker fans see every day, which is like, this dude is freaking special. And, his plus minus is because he plays with a bunch of guards and wings that really can't defend their own position. And now it's like Anthony Edwards hounding his dude. And you finally get by Anthony Edwards, Anthony, and it's AD right there. He got like a full palm on his last block. Like, he was able to almost catch it. That's how much he blocked it. No, it's been fun. And hopefully Rob and JJ, are positioning themselves to like improve the roster around them.
One would hope. We'll talk a little bit about the Lakers Summer League experience in a second as well. But before we get to that, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. But Raj, take a look at how much joy is on Steph Curry's face on this play.
U.S. playing Australia on Monday. Here's LeBron. Look at that.
You saw that coming. Look at him. Here's a still that you grabbed after the game. Look at these guys. Look at Steph.
They seem very worried about their opponents. Anthony. They seem very worried. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb here and say that, like, I think those two enjoy playing next to each other, whether it's in All-Star games, whether it's in this kind of a setting, whether it's next season as Los Angeles Lakers. Like, these guys absolutely relish in those moments that they're out there on the court together. I thought Steph at times looked like the best player on the court. I thought LeBron at times looked like the best player on the court. I thought overall either Anthony Edwards or Anthony Davis were like the actual best player on the court. Dylan Brooke came in somewhere in the 30s. But like I just thought that like I think over the course of this Olympic run, I think like this might be me kind of hyperventilating about the moment a little bit, but I do kind of think that we're probably gonna like one of those two teams, whether it's the Lakers or the Warriors,
Oh wow,
are going to walk away with the other guy. And if I'm the Warriors and I just let Steph's best friend walk and pissed him off over the course of a year to the point where Steph is now like, I hope he refines his joy for basketball again because Joe Lacob and his Nepo baby son fucked it up that bad. Like, if I'm a Warriors fan, I'm sitting here like, man, can we end this Olympic run a little sooner? Can we make sure that these guys don't play together this much because they look like they're having too much fun?
I just had the funniest vision of Joe Lacob's son going to Steph. It's like, we lost Clay. It's like, I got you, buddy. Healed. It's like, what?
It's like Kmart brand Clay. Yes. Clay actually played defense too. He's like, he did? What? Hold on.
No, but they definitely look like they love playing each other, and they have just their basketball games combined in a level of like chemistry and just fit that, you know, it's super rare. These dudes have probably played more against each other in like super high pressure games than any two like top players in the game ever, really. And yeah, their games fit beautifully. You could tell they probably had these conversations. Anthony, how many all-star games have they played together? A ton, right? I'm sure conversations during that of, hey, and they've had some fun moments in all-star games too, but no, they look like they love it. LeBron's passing with Steph shooting is just unfair. It's just the league. This is rigged. Like, this is just like you're not beating LeBron and Steph on the same team. You're just not. Like, there's a play where LeBron was screening for Steph. I think it was a legal screen. Dylan Brooks is like chasing hard as hell. And like, I think LeBron moves a little bit and Steph nails a three. And there's another play where like Steph's coming down in transition, gets a wide open three. Anthony misses it. Jrue Holiday, one of the best offensive rebounders in the world, comes in and gets the offensive rebound and kicks it out. Steph gets another wide open three and obviously drills that one. It's unfair, but no, their games are so fun. Two of the highest IQ players in the game too. I think are going to just revel in every single minute of this, and they're going to win all these games by like 25, 30. This is their first exhibition together, and they like played hard for 10 minutes and beat Canada, who has the most NBA players in this run. They're going to have a lot of fun, you know, playing together. I hope it's on the Lakers.
I found another clip of this play that I think is an even better look at how much these two dudes enjoyed this specific play. I think it also helped that it was against Dylan Brooks specifically. That Brooks is there, like he misses on the pass, and then he's in the picture as LeBron gets the dunk. It honestly wasn't that great of a pass from Steph to LeBron. It could have been a little higher to make it look even more impressive. But no, I if I was a Warriors fan, I would be asking Steph to pull out of these games. Like, I would be, I'd be like, hey man, like, can we focus on next season, please? Because like the longer that he does this, then the longer that he and LeBron get to talk about like how much fun this is over the course of, you know, the next month or whatever it is that they get to play together. Right. And the number of other moments that we get like this. If I were a Warriors fan, I'd be like, ugh. Like every time one of these happen, I'd be like, oh, man. Like that's really cool, but no. You know?
Yeah.
Also, this will age hilariously if it winds up being LeBron to Golden State.
Oh my God. Yeah. I can't imagine. It's funny because like Warrior fans have a weird hate love relationship with LeBron even now, and like they're gifting LeBron as like, because their whole thing is Steph passing LeBron, right, in titles. I think Steph has 4 now. So but LeBron, that's like a super cool Galaxy move of just LeBron going to Steph and be like, hey, we'll just win together. I'll rack my numbers up while you rack yours. You'll always be one less than me. But no, I hope it's with the Lakers if that's the case. 2 firsts, D'Lo and something for Steph Curry this summer.
Would you include JHS in that trade?
I think JHS would, develop really well in the Bay in Golden State.
New light skin guy up there in Golden State. Yeah, just replace him, step right in. No expectations either. Nope. All right, so let's
we have to do this. We have to do this. Yes.
All right. I'm gonna eventually get out of your way to let you just talk about like the actual basketball that we watched. I did watch the game. I have watched all of the games to this point. The team sucks. It's just not a very good team. And I'll let you like go into more further nuance on it. My one thing is the Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers, an organization right now that like when they hired JJ Redick said that they want to become a program. They're focused on development. They understand the value of drafting well and developing and all of that stuff. They still do not have a head of player development. That person does not exist on their payroll. The players that they're trying to develop, Maxwell Lewis doesn't look like an NBA player. Bronny James, not an NBA player right now. Plays good defense, but he's not an NBA player right now. You look across that summer league roster, there just isn't JHS. Like maybe he could be an NBA player. We don't know. Hopefully we see him in Vegas. Hopefully.
He's not on the roster. He's not playing in Vegas.
Awesome. Fantastic. So there are no like bright spot. Like I guess you could say like Blake Hinson, if you squint, right? He made some shots in his first game and stuff like that, but he's kind of chubby. He's not really like, he's never going to defend. So I don't really see it there. You could maybe say Colin Castleton, but he's been pretty underwhelming to this point, to be completely honest. Looks really good offensively. Looks pretty bad defensively.
Sure.
So like they the whole thing here is that the Lakers are going to focus on development, finding, diamonds in the rough to develop and all of that stuff. Didn't buy a second round pick in this year's draft. Haven't done anything to add more youth to this roster. And didn't improve. I think the roster is now actively worse than it was at the end of last season, and haven't been overwhelmed by Dalton Knecht either. Like, you can't tell me that you're focused on development and then not develop people. You don't have anybody from your main coaching staff next year coaching this summer league roster. There's just no connection between what we are being sold and what we're being offered.
Sure. I think, the first 2 games felt like Dane Johnson found out he was coaching the summer league team at JJ's press conference. Like, it feels like there was no real communication.
He was like zoned out and he was like, Dane Johnson. He's like, what?
Which again, like, I disagreed with. I thought JJ should have coached, and his his reasoning for it was that he needed to hire assistant coaches, which is fine. And, said this was a great opportunity for Dane and his staff, which I think it is. And I think Dane tried to kind of put a lot of concepts in very quickly, and it looked like that, right? I think both the teams we played, the Warriors, I forgot the other team that we played first, but like all those teams look way more organized than we did. But like summer league games to me, Andy, like, it's not really about the score. Like, yeah, you would like to win, and really, like, the California Classic doesn't count for me. It's really the Vegas games, but we definitely look disorganized. But in those games, I try to just look at the individual players. And I was warning people about Maxwell Lewis very early. Like, I think he has amazing tools. He's a super athlete. But again, I think it's the messaging of what they're telling him he needs to be. Like, I think he should be focused on defense, on rebounding, on playing, on shooting open threes, and he just attacks closeouts when they're not there. He refuses to shoot. His floaters look all off. His offensive game looks, way out of whack. Very similar to the G League. Some of the players on this roster I don't understand either. Like Valerio Vodon could not play in our South Bay team. I don't understand why he's on the Summer League roster. My biggest complaint, Anthony, and I've loved Tony Kuzi. I think he's been fun. I think he has nice behind the back passes. Harrison has taken on his name as well, and just started recognizing himself.
I've never
as that
seen
player.
The two of them in the same room at the same time. It needs to be pointed out.
Those two and Caruso, which Kuzi kind of reminds me of as well. But he's our only real point guard on the roster. There's no point guard. Tony Kuzi's a fun on-ball guard, but we needed someone to have some creation. JHS is obviously out. Bronny's not that type of guard. So when you watch our offense and how wild it is, and people are mad at Dalton Knecht, it's Dalton got drafted as an off-ball worker. He's not supposed to bring the ball up and run a bunch of pick and rolls. I thought he played really well tonight. He was 6 for 25, I believe, in the first 2 games. Really got going tonight. But it's a mixed match roster. There's no real semblance of a coaching philosophy yet. I'm hoping there's some practices in Vegas that kind of fixes this. But I think Dalton has best game. Colin Castleton, you mentioned he averaged 17 and 11 in South Bay. He had 18 and 11 tonight. I think we kind of know what he is offensively. It's the defensive stuff. Can he protect the rim? Is he physical enough to play center? Those are the questions I'm looking for. But at least Dalton's starting to cook, and hopefully Maxwell Lewis, he can't play any worse. He was 0 for 8, I think, to start the second game, and then tonight again started 0 for 9. But yeah, his development, I agree with you, Anthony. Something's not right there in terms of what they're preaching to work on. Because Maxwell Lewis, year 2 guys, that's what I look at really. Year 2 guys should be better than the field, and he's really struggled.
Yeah. I tweeted, I fired off a series of tweets about this earlier. We've been talking about this in the lounge Slack.
Yep.
It makes me really, really nervous how many non or borderline NBA players are at the bottom of this roster. Max Lewis is not an NBA player. Will not be one this year. May never be one, but is certainly not one right now. Jalen Hood-Schifino, we don't know. I hope so. But there's no way to tell. And based off of what we saw last year, not going to be an NBA player this year. Bronny James probably won't be an NBA player for 2 years. He just doesn't look ready right now. I think he has the defensive, skills, and I think he has a good head on his shoulders, and he's looked pretty good there, but not an NBA player right now. Cam Reddish, maybe if you squint, he's on his last try, so maybe this is the time that clicks. So maybe Jackson Hayes, maybe Dalton Knecht. I don't know if he's going to be an even below average defender this year. He has looked really bad defensively in these games so far. So you're now looking at you're looking at more than a third of this roster as either not at all NBA players to borderline NBA players at best. And if the Lakers suffer 2 or 3 injuries in their rotation right now, they are completely screwed. They are completely screwed. Let alone if those injuries take place to LeBron or AD. And the Lakers are basically hoping that everybody just kind of moves on and doesn't realize, holy shit, this is actually going to be the roster heading into next year. As it stands right now, if I had to bet on it, I would probably say this is the roster heading into next season.
Me too.
If so, this is when Rob Pelinka's back was up against the wall. He fires his head coach. It's put up or shut up time. And the dude shut up. The dude, this is the roster. And if you're trying to tell us that you're focused on development, this can't be the second straight year that your summer league team is a freaking embarrassment. They're bad. They were really bad last year, and they're somehow worse this year.
I mean, last year they had Max Christie, right, who I thought showed off pretty well in summer league. And then I thought JHS had a fine, okay summer league to start. But for sure, this year it looks like there was no plan. The talent that you're trying to figure out just has not worked. I think, Anthony, I've been consistent on this. Like, I know you're upset there's no moves. I know most of the fans are upset there's no moves that have happened. I think they're gonna sell you that the team won 45 games last year. They Darvin Ham versus JJ Redick. There's a considerable gap to most people that JJ can do a better job than Darvin did, and then they're getting Jared Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent back. I think that's the sell.
JJ Redick just said yesterday that Jared Vanderbilt is still currently rehabbing right now.
It's July, so hopefully in October, like it's ready to go.
All right, and like for everybody who says like, all right, Gabe Vincent and Jared Vanderbilt they're going to be okay this year. They're going to be healthy this year for sure. You willing to make that bet that like LeBron at 40 is going to be as healthy as he was last year? You going to make that bet that Anthony Davis is going to be as healthy as he was last year? I sure as fuck hope so. But like this can't be the plan. Like this, like I can't believe that. Like and this is the crazy part. This is how I know that this is going to be the roster, because now I'm starting to see on Twitter. You know what? I think this roster is a little underrated at this point. What? This roster was just a first round exit. This like this roster was had to win a play-in game for the opportunity to get knocked out of the first round. Only won one game against the Denver Nuggets in that first series. And this is like this is the roster that like now fans are gonna like wrap their arms around and say like, all right, let's give it a good old college try. Like I it's just how do you not you have what is it 5 or I think you have 5 or 6 second rounders at your disposal. There were multiple teams out there with cap space that you could have unloaded your minimum salaries onto, because under this new CBA, if you're under the first apron. If you're under the second apron, but above the first apron, you can aggregate minimum salaries so long as you don't bring a player back that those minimum salaries have to stack up to. So like the Lakers could have sent Cam Reddish and Jackson Hayes and or Christian Wood to Charlotte, to Detroit, to Utah, to San Antonio, to any of these teams, along with a second rounder or a couple second rounder to be able to give themselves the opportunity to sign like a Gary Trent Jr., who's probably going to sign at this point for the $5.2 million taxpayer mid-level exception because his market has dried up. And the Lakers like passed on that opportunity. They just did not do it. And I know that Rob Pelinka is pretty stubborn. He doesn't like trading, giving up draft capital just to get off of contracts or whatever. I think it's a pretty antiquated approach to this, given just the second round pick economy. It's just this offseason, it's hard to not call this an unmitigated failure. Like I won't call it unmitigated because a $20 bill slapped them in the face and they were able to draft Dalton Knecht. But like short of that miracle that they had no control over, they did nothing. They accomplished nothing. They didn't even get the backup center upgrade that we knew that they needed heading into last year's playoffs. And their summer league team sucks too. So you aren't developing players and your main team isn't any better. What are you actually accomplishing, Rob Pelinka? What are you actually like? What should we all be looking forward to?
Sure. Look, you mentioned all the, cap gymnastics that, people would do. I don't even go into that, Anthony, because I think that we live in apron world or something like that now, right? Where, that's where the conversation is. Even putting all that to the side, my only gripe, because I feel better about this roster than I think most people do, but I'm shocked there was no contingency plan for when D'Lo opted in. And I think that was the flip for me this summer, where Like, how do you have nothing planned for that? Like, you got a gift from the sky, like a manna from heaven that we explained that KCP was. D'Lo opting in was an absolute gift. D'Lo plus whatever first round picks that you can move should have been, to me, the first domino. It feels like 10 years ago where LeBron said he would take a pay cut for, 3 players. That's obviously come and gone, but even, forgetting all that, I thought, D'Lo would be for sure moved. And from your reporting and others, it feels clear that the team is acting as if he's not on the team while understanding that he'll be the starting point guard in October. So it's a very strange double sword. And I think that's an also tough part about this. We watched Dallas just salary dump Tim Hardaway Jr. to the Pistons.
And they got Quentin Grimes for it?
They got Quinn Grimes for it. And Hardaway's on a worse contract than D'Lo is. Hardaway has like 2-3 years left on his deal. But the difference, I think, is the Lakers, and I think this is a right way to feel as well, is that D'Lo's not a player that they can just dump, right? Like there's too much production there to where you have to replace that. And the Mavericks feel like we're kind of better without Tim Hardaway Jr. and we got a young wing for it as well. So I think that's the tough part that they're going back and forth with. But I think I'm with you, Anthony. I think this is going to be the roster. I think they really believe Dalton Knecht is a roster rotation, like is a NBA rotation player next year. Like they're betting on that. They're betting on Max Christie, playing or finally playing as the, as what they said last summer league after he had an awesome summer league last year and didn't really get to play last season. They're betting on that. Obviously the Vando entrance to the team and Gabe Vincent. Like that's like 5 or 6 players. So to them, those are additions. I think that's how it's going to be sold. But the D'Lo stuff to me is very strange. I don't think I've heard JJ say D'Lo's name yet at all.
No,
has he?
Nobody has. Like they're all pretending the guy doesn't exist, and then like the season's going to start. And it's like, hey, we're so happy to have you. Welcome
Lakers
back,
leader in
bud.
3-pointers. Yes.
Yeah, I don't like the issue with D'Lo. The issue that they're running into with D'Lo is that he is neither young enough to believe is going to improve, nor good enough to actually improve your team. For those teams that are trying to make the playoffs and do stuff in the playoffs. So like it makes it difficult to trade him. But, also like once I started getting wind that the Lakers were going into draft night looking to draft a player and keep that player no matter what, I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're up to again. They just lied to us last year. They just lied to us. Like that's what it is. And so when we heard that they were like, because the sales pitch was last year, we're going to hold on to our draft picks so that we have 3 draft picks to be able to use on a superstar this upcoming summer, or in order to turn some of our one-way impact players into 2-way impact players. Right. And now look, we're recording this on a now Thursday morning, my time, Wednesday night, your time, Raj. So maybe sometime in the next week or so, when Rob Pelinka is able to get together with some of these GMs in person and have these conversations in person, and those people can't ignore his phone calls anymore because he's sitting right next to them. Like maybe those conversations will be more productive than they have been to this point. But if not, and I'm told to anticipate that they won't be, that whole we're going to have 3 picks thing next year was an outright and bold-faced lie, because they went into draft night looking to draft somebody. And you always know that Rob Pelinka is going to look to keep 1 draft pick open to himself heading into the season. So that means that 3 draft pick, that 3 first-round pick draft cash that they were looking to use this year was only 1 first rounder. And like, I'm sorry, you just aren't going. And then the other thing too is that the Lakers are going to use the inherent excuse of, well, we only want to use first rounders on trades that win us championships, and they completely ignore marginal upgrades. Raj, we knew they needed a better backup center 6 months ago. That was something we knew, like that, like even before Christian Wood got hurt, we knew that they needed it. Jokic is still in your conference. Like he didn't go anywhere. You need to find somebody with the physical presence to deal with him. The Lakers still don't have that guy. And so like they didn't accomplish anything this year. They went into when they went into the draft and they were anticipating drafting somebody in the with the 17th pick this year. They were expecting to be able to draft Yves Missi. That was the guy that they were getting ready to draft, and then Knecht fell to them or whatever. But they were drafting Missi because they knew that they needed a center, or at least a center project, to be able to do like the Derek Lively thing and expand his role over the course of the year. They didn't even do that. They didn't buy another pick early in the second round to be able to check that box either. Adem Bono was sitting right there, like early in the second round. Didn't do anything to get him either. And this is at a time, this is in a draft where like second rounders and they were flying around, and they didn't do anything then either. So it's like I'm sorry, Rob, like what exactly is it that you do here?
It's funny because I think every second rounder this draft got traded or something like that. There was some stat that like no one picked their own second rounder. I don't know. Did you ever believe that 3 firsts were getting moved this summer? Like I never. I'm not saying that it's right that I didn't believe it or something like that. But I never thought that was the case. Also, like if you look at the actions,
but isn't that a statement about the front office in and of itself, Raj? Sure. That like they're selling this to you and you're like you're lying.
Sure, that absolutely. But like, okay, just forget it. Forget about the words. Let's go with the actions really quickly because I've been on this for a while.
Yeah.
Do you go out and get Dan Hurley if you're title and bust next year? Like if your expectation is title or bust next year, do you go after Dan Hurley? I don't think so.
Yeah,
like,
their two main focuses here were a podcaster with 0 coaching experience and Dan Hurley. To your point, I'm helping make your point. Yeah.
No, I know, but I think podcast is a little mean, like because I think JJ does more than podcast. But even in any case, no NBA experience, but for even just forgetting their resumes for a second, Anthony, the sell on Dan Hurley was player development. We want player development system, right? LeBron is 40 years. He doesn't care about no player development system. Like so, those like the words don't match the actions at all, or even the sell. Even if Dan Hurley did sign, Dan Hurley took $20 million less to go to UConn, which was reported recently. But the sell on him was we want a player program. What did they say about JJ Redick as well? Right? They're like, oh, JJ can bring in his program. Right? JJ's bringing his own coach. JJ even mentioned a player director of player development. What does that have to do with winning a title next year? Like developing, and I think they should be doing this still, but developing Maxwell Lewis, developing Jalen Hood-Schifino, developing Colin Cowson, developing Bronny James is not title or bust next year. So those, in my opinion, those picks were never getting moved. I really like Dalton Knecht. I would like to close this pod with a little bit of Dalton Knecht if we can, but yeah, like I just think like their actions of title or bust really just don't match at all.
Or it is just bust. Or they're planning on busting. Like they're planning on, we aren't a title team. Like that's the thing. I wrote in 2022, 2 whole years ago, that based on their actions, Rob Pelinka and the Lakers front office is basically, they've told you that they don't believe in Anthony Davis and LeBron James as the cornerstones of a championship team at any of those years since, whether it was in 2022, 2023, now we sit here in 2024. And
they believe in them, Anthony. They just don't believe them to the extent of wasting all their future capital on them. Right?
That's not believing in them. Like you could butter it up all you want, Raj, but that's not like if you aren't willing to devote more draft capital to giving them a legitimate and bona fide chance at winning a championship, you don't believe in them.
I guess what I'm trying to say, their belief is in it's coded in, well, if they're healthy and if we have a roster that makes sense and if the coaching staff was able to put the roster at its maximum position, then I think we have a chance and we'll build out the roster in that way. But we're not putting any future first round flexibility into it. And I agree with you. That's not a full belief in them. That's not fully putting all your chips in the table, but I think that's where they're at. LeBron's 40 years old. AD has a healthy season here. But we're not putting our chips in. But if we're healthy, we'll be frisky and maybe, we pull a miracle at the end. I think that's where they're at. And I've been on that for the last, year or few months or 6 months with this, that I never thought the first round picks were really actually moving. They're selling you Dalton Knecht. They're selling you, the developmental program. None of that matches with, we got to win a title next year. And I think LeBron signing a 1+1 matches kind of all those things as well. LeBron had a 3-year option on the table, took a 1+1. We're going to go through this whole charade again next year when he opts out. And, does he extend next year? We're going to go through this whole thing. And we'll see what happens. But I think that's where their belief is. Does that make sense?
No, it does. I so the people that I've spoken to closest to close to the Lakers, think that it's possible, if not probable, that next year with a better free agent class, LeBron opts out, takes less, and gives the Lakers a better chance at winning with a more impactful addition to the roster than they could have made this year. The problem there again, though, Raj, is the continued disassociation from any kind of marginal upgrades in the meantime. Fine. Sure. You don't want to trade 2 first rounders for Jeremy Grant. Frankly, I agree. I wouldn't do that either. All right. You don't want to trade a first rounder for Dorian Finney-Smith? Okay. I can kind of see where you're coming from.
But then you don't get those players. You don't get either of them if I not
completely like all cards on the table, all chips in the middle of the table, all that shit. I understand where they're coming from on all of these stances on the players that we're talking about that take legitimate draft capital. That doesn't stop you from making any marginal addition in the meantime. And it's the exact same thing that we saw at the fucking deadline last year when we knew, Raj, we knew that they needed to do something with their backup center spot. We knew that they needed to do something if Jared Vanderbilt wasn't going to be able to return to the rotation. We knew that there were these marginal tweaks that they needed to make, but they just sat it out completely. They didn't do a thing. And we're doing it here again. We're sitting here having the same conversation again, where once again, all right, you don't want to give up the actual draft capital to bring in the guys at the top of your market. Fine. But that doesn't stop you from opening up the taxpayer mid-level exception so you could have another impact addition to the roster right now. Like that doesn't stop. Like you don't get tangibly worse by trading Jackson Hayes and Cam Reddish into somebody else's draft or cap space. That doesn't do anything to like your ability to win next season. And what it does do is it means that you can bring in another veteran minimum contract when you move those guys and a taxpayer mid-level exception guy as well. And the Lakers just sat it out. They didn't do anything at all. And like, it's exactly what happens when a front office knows that it will never be held to account, because it's the exact same mistake made 6 months apart from the last time that they did this. It's the exact same issue and nothing changed.
So
if I'm a Laker fan here, like if I am one, maybe less so than I was, a decade or so ago before I found out how the sausage was made. But like, if I am just strictly a Laker fan right now, I'm sitting here saying like, y'all didn't learn anything? You didn't learn a thing? Because let's say the Lakers, I don't think they're going to beat the Denver Nuggets in any kind of a series with how the roster was made up or whatever. Like, and even like a backup center, like, doesn't really do anything for you. But like, nothing? No, you could have gotten Drummond this year. You could have had Daniel Tice. Like all of these guys who would have been like more solid Mason Plumlee was out there this year. He would have been better for you against Jokic than either Wood or Hayes. And the Lakers was like, nah, we're good. We're set.
So I knew, Anthony, when I heard when I heard Rob I'm going by their words, going by their actions. When I heard Rob at JJ's presser say it's tough to make deals, right? Like and again, like this is not to clown Rob and for me, but like if that's what his public stance is, imagine what it is privately, right? The amount it has to be for him to go from privately, complaining to it leaching out into the public where he's saying, yeah, it's a difficult situation. I'm having a hard time making moves. And I'm just shocked there's no, like, we clown the Warriors for losing Klay Thompson, and like as they should. Like I think they should have paid Klay at least a certain number. Their negotiations went south. We clown the Clippers as well for losing Paul George. But those teams, Anthony, had a plan B, plan C set up. Like Warriors, all right, Klay's gone. All right, fine. Like we have to sit with that. We go get Buddy Hield, even though we just joked about him. We got Kyle Anderson and we got DeAnthony Melton. That's a nice rebound. It's not Klay Thompson, but it's a really nice rebound. The Clippers lost Paul George. They went and got Derrick Jones Jr. and I forgot what the other guys that they signed. But they bounced back and they turned into an athletic team that is going to. And Chris Dunn, I believe, is another guy they got as well. But the Lakers, like, they did nothing. They watched their guys opt in and just sat there and had zero like plan B, plan C set up. And I understand it's difficult, but it's kind of his job. Like that's all he's supposed, like that's literally the only reason he's there, is to like make these type of moves. So that when I heard him, publicly complain about the difficulty of the job at hand, I knew that we were going to get very little action in free agency, in trades. And I've already heard, I've seen Woj already speak about that the Lakers want to keep their first round picks. They're tired of giving first round picks away, which I think is a legitimate, thing to focus on as well. But I've heard that they want to move this to the trade deadline again, which again is tough for people to hear. But I think when you listen to the words that the general manager is saying, like they're telling you what is happening.
But let's even think about it from this perspective. All right, you're developing a program. And you're investing in your program's future, and you're trying to develop the future of your organization, which is asinine in and of itself, because you have a 40-year-old LeBron James in your program, and you have in his prime Anthony Davis. We just saw what he did on the court tonight. That guy was the most impactful player on the basketball court tonight. So like in on a basketball court that was filled with all-stars and
MVPs,
superstars and franchise stars, all that shit. Like that guy was the most impactful player out there. And the Lakers were like, well, yeah, but just imagine what he'll look like when he has a 25-year-old Jalen Hood-Schifino next to him. And
22,
like,
yes.
No, I'm saying like a few years from now.
Like, gotcha. All right. All-star.
After he's time to stew in the development pot roast that the Lakers are cooking. But the think about it from this perspective, because if you're actually focused on developing a program and building a program and putting everybody in their best positions here moving forward, how is this the best situation for JJ Redick? You don't have your coaching staff is like your plan F coaching staff. Right? Like you weren't able to get Borrego. You weren't able to get
Dwayne Casey.
Terry Stotts. You weren't able to get Dwayne Casey. You weren't able to get Jacques Vaughn. Like you weren't like you had to go all the way down this list here because it's Kurt Rambis making the calls for you. And then and so like you don't have, like, you still of the coaches that you currently have on your staff right now, whether it's Scott Brooks, whether it's Nate McMillan, whether it's Greg St. Jean, and eventually it'll be Bob Byer. Like none of those guys are player development guys. Like they never went out and actually did that. And then you're asking your rookie coach, not rookie head coach, but rookie coach in the NBA, hey, this roster is worse than it was last year. Make it better than last year. Good luck, bud. Like, how is that a feasible situation to put your rookie coach in if you're actually looking to develop a program moving forward? It just, none of this makes any sense, Raj. It just doesn't. And again, as I've said all along, when I report stuff, when we analyze stuff, that is as of 12:54 my time out here in Leander, Texas, and 10:54 your time out there on the West Coast, Raj. Like things can change really, really quickly. But as it stands right now, the Lakers aren't accomplishing anything. They aren't making life easier on their rookie coach. They aren't competing for a championship right now. And they aren't developing for the future because they don't have a head of fucking player development on their staff right now. So you are doing a thing. And we wonder why, like it was funny to have conversations with people around the league. Right now, the Lakers are basically like on the warpath trying to find my sourcing for the information that I have about them. And I'm not going to give out my sourcing for obvious reasons here. But in talking to people around the league, you know, the one thing that I learned is that like anybody who has any kind of communication with the Lakers, they walk away from it and they're just like, man, that sucked. like that was really tough because they do not operate like a professional organization right now. And it's just like you can see it from the number of assistant coaches who turned them down. Jared Dudley, Sam Cassell, again, Borrego, like you could go on down the list of the guys that they originally had, you know, in mind for assistant coaching positions. And all of them are like, no, we're good.
Sure.
You know, we're set. Yeah. Hell, Dan Hurley took a job offer that was $20 million less than the one that the Lakers reportedly made to him. $20 million less. And we could talk about like how far a dollar goes in LA and taxes and all that stuff. That's still $20 million less than the Lakers offered him. And that was even $30 million less than the one that they probably should have made him. Yeah. It's just like none of what the Lakers have done this year has made any sense whatsoever. No two decisions that they have made in a row have been coherent at all. And we're sitting here like you're heading into a year where like LeBron and AD are coming off of all NBA seasons. And it's just like, yeah, we're cool, just continuing to waste it.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense if you know, and this, to me, this is the truth, is that they see LeBron as 40 and they're like, we are not in a title mode. And there is no, it's fair for Portland to ask for 2 firsts, right? For Jeremy Grant. I think you reported in others that is the asking price. And it's kind of like, we've talked about this before on the show, Anthony, but it's like, what's the price? Oh, how much do you have? Yeah, that's the price, right? That's kind of where they're at. And I think that's fair. If you're not putting Austin Reeves on the table, which I think you and others have said he's not at all on the table. And if Dalton Knecht has been, you know, put up on a pedestal so much that JJ Redick was diagramming plays for him right when he was drafted, I don't even think he can be traded for 30 days anyway, because he was just signed. But then your 2 first is the ask. Like, and I think those 2 first do get you in conversations, right? And I think that gets you into Jeremy Grant. I think that does get you into Kyle Kuzma territory. That gets you into others. But I just don't get the sense that Pelinka wants to move both of those. And so you're at this holding pattern, or again, just keep me out of where they make the sausage at. Like, I'll stay over here, you know. But like, I feel like, you know, when teams talk to the Lakers, like the ask is 2 firsts, and if it's not 2 firsts, then it's 1 first and Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent. And I don't know how much that gets you. I'm not on the trade machine as others are. I don't think I've ever opened the trade machine. But I understand when people go and look at that, it's just, I don't think there's any move that's coming. But if you look at it, to me, Anthony, from the stance of this front office does not believe that this is 2020 LeBron and AD. And so they are moving accordingly. They are, you know, still keeping their future assets while trying to build the best team possible through that. And you're just not building a contender that way. You just aren't. Unless LeBron and AD play like 80 games and the team, you know, finds a lucky spot next season. They're going to continue to fight and hopefully be try to fight for above a 7 seed and see if they hit on their rookies or hit on their rookie Dalton Knecht and get improvements from young guys. But I think it makes sense if you look at it through that lens, that they just don't see LeBron at 40 and AD at 31, a combination of a duo that is 1 move away, a marginal move away. And that's how I look at it.
Nobody is ever a 1 move away. Like even the Sixers, they got Paul George this year. That move doesn't make them the best team in the East.
Sure.
Nobody is the only team that was like 1 move away from like legitimate. All right, we made 1 move and now we are going to win a championship. Was the Warriors lucking into Kevin Durant when they lucked into Kevin Durant because of the cap spike? That's it. So short of that, like if that's always the excuse that's going to keep Rob Pelinka from making any decision whatsoever, and frankly, from what I've heard, that's basically what it is that like everybody there is so afraid of making a decision that might cost them their jobs that they're all afraid to pull the trigger on anything. That's why it took so long to hire JJ Redick. Like JJ Redick was their choice from the get. Like JJ Redick was the guy that they headed into that hiring process and they were hoping to be wowed by him. They were wowed by him, and they were like, ooh, yeah, but ooh. And Linda Rambis was like, I don't know. And then like the Dan Hurley thing happened, and then eventually they hired him, and it got leaked by Woj and all those guys a week later after I had it. And it's like everything that they do. Darvin Ham was fired the second the season ended. Like everybody knew where that was going, and it took a week of like, yeah, if we fire him now, is that like enough time? Like all that, it's like nothing that they do is with any kind of like gusto. Anything like nothing that they do is with any real organizational belief, and it's just for Mr. Mamba mentality, Mr. like Rob Pelinka, the guy who has his job because of Mamba mentality, to sit here and tell us like, guys, it's hard. Like what? Could you imagine Kobe like hearing his GM say publicly, gosh, man, it's so hard under this collective bargaining agreement? No, man, like that's not how the Lakers would be operating. Kobe would walk into that guy's office and fire him himself. He would walk into he would walk into Rob Pelinka's office and say, get the hell out. You aren't equipped to do this. Find me somebody who can, you know? And like this idea that like we're all sitting here as Lakers fans, like, actually, you know what? That's a fine nuanced position. Fuck no, it isn't. No, man, you make $15 million. You're operating in a league with Sam Presti. You're operating in a league with Masai Ujiri. You're operating in a league with all of these guys who are able to also operate in this new CBA. You're the only person who says he can't. Mr. Mamba mentality. we can't keep doing this thing, man. All right. You said you wanted to finish with some Dalton Knecht stuff to finish on a positive light. So I'm going to just shut up and I'm going to stop ranting. I'm going to get out of your way and have fun.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Actually, my earphones died in the middle of you screaming at Rob Pelinka there, but I caught the end of that. No, like again, this has been a really, it started off so fun with the Team USA and us, going off on LeBron and Steph. And then the summer league, I was trying to make that a little bit more positive, but it turned into a dark kind of web and went into different places.
To a dark place. Yeah,
it got to a dark place. But no, I like Dalton Knecht is a legit fun prospect, and I would like, I think people have kind of been turned off by the summer league games because of the score. I would recommend go, watch them, watch their game on Friday. Yes, because of the basketball. Yes, but Dalton Knecht is a really fun prospect, and Anthony, he's a legit shooting prospect in a way that we just haven't had. Like he's kind of running when Cole Swider walked, right? Like I think he's a lot more athletic, and he makes reads that shooters make that like we've drafted obviously a 19-year-old last year, and it was kind of like, oh, let's see what he can become. But Dalton, you can already envision him next to our best players, which I think is really fun. Like they run a lot of curls for him off like pin downs, and his form and technique on those are, and obviously he's older, so he should be more he should have, more technique there than the younger guys around him, but he's a really fun shooter to watch. And I think like he's getting better as every game goes on. He's had his best game tonight. I think he finished with 18 or 20 points. We blew a lead at the end, which is very strange. Like we had a lead and then lost it to Miami to lose it. But he's a super athlete as well. He reads overplays nicely. Like he cuts the rim and he's athletic. He'll dunk on you. His threes are starting to go in. Had some transition buckets as well. They're giving him pick and roll stuff. He has contact finishes. He's been the bright spot. And like Colin Castleton played well. I think him and Colin are having a nice relationship in terms of a basketball relationship. But Dalton seems like a real guy. And like, again, it's not great that you have to rely on your first round pick to play next year as like a big addition. But he's been really fun, I feel like, and a bright spot in the summer league. Offensively, I mean, like defensively, it's tough, right? I do think he does try. His like IQ is a little bit, off in terms of the defensive stuff. he was an older guy playing in college, so I'm sure he has to kind of, adjust to like the physicality, being on a more level playing field. He did get some steals. He was one of the steal leaders, I believe, in college. Got a lot of stocks, but he had some nice anticipation picks from that standpoint. But it's going to be a work in progress. It's just like at the 17th pick, you're looking for an NBA skill, right? And I think like as an offensive player, and that's what the sad thing is, that's the thing that AD kind of gives you, right? Like that's the luxury that AD is, that you can surround him with multiple players that don't defend well. You don't want to build a team around that, but like that's the luxury that AD gives you. And so like Dalton and AD, you can kind of envision already them two playing next to each other and just having a guy that teams have to guard. So just wanted to go on my little soliloquy on Dalton Knecht, because I feel like it's been pretty dark on the summer league, and he's been a bright spot. I feel like he didn't shoot well, 6 for 25 the first 2 games, but did kind of bounce back tonight. He is attacking the rim. He's an older guy, so it's understandable why like people don't see a high ceiling on him, but he's the guy that people should look for. So hopefully, people tune in to this Vegas summer league after all the talk we had on it.
Yeah, I'm not going to fully judge Knecht right now while he doesn't really have a point guard all the time. He's the kind of player who like runs off of screens and gets stuff created for him, and then takes advantage of those things. And he'll look better with LeBron, and if D'Lo is still on the roster, he'll look better with D'Lo, and he'll look better with even Austin, making plays for him. So I do think Knecht can help. It's just tough that he is the major acquisition of this offseason. It's just, in an offseason where you have a 40-year-old LeBron James, it'd be one thing, Raj. I'm not saying I hope, I wish, or anything like that this was the case.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be one thing if like LeBron at 40 looked like
a
40-year-old LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be one thing if like AD on the other side of 30 was like, clearly slowing down. But last year was probably from start to finish his most productive like regular season as a Laker. And like the response to that is, oh, well, high five, guys.
Do it again.
Here's Dalton Knecht. Like here's Dalton Knecht and Bronny. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's just
it's crazy when you say it out loud. Like I just, when it's said out loud, it just hits a little different.
It does. That's what I'm here for. All right. That is going to do it here for this episode of a Lakers Lounge that took a dark turn. I'm concerned that people are going to clip that stuff of the Mamba mentality. So you know what? Clip it. Screw it. Let's see what happens and see if it goes viral or whatever. Raj, thank you very much for hopping on. The next time I see you, the next time I talk to you, I believe is probably going to be in Vegas. Yes. When you are a fully unhinged Las Vegas Raj. I can't wait to see that. I'm gonna be the person who like has to keep it together because like my family is all out there. So we'll see how that goes. But no, thank you everybody for tuning in. A quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. If you guys are watching live on Twitter, please head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to find the show as well. If you guys are listening to this in the morning in podcast form, please subscribe to wherever it is that you get your podcasts, and preferably on Odyssey. And until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin. And that was Raj Chapalu saying, have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. And we will talk to you tomorrow, probably, because ain't no breaking news coming.